from our cars and factories and homes and everything was going to block out the sun, and that we were going to drop the earth into another ice age. So back then it was called global cooling. Now, when I say that to people, I still get people who want to argue with me that I am wrong. And I tell them over and over again, look, you can even find this on YouTube. I am not talking about the movie with Jim Carrey, The Lorax. I'm talking about the Dr. Seuss weeknight special. 30 minutes, because back then, things were, you had the Peanuts on for a special. For Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and Easter. Wasn't there a Valentine's Day one? I think there was there's a Valentine's Day Charlie Brown one. There was even another one that was aired in March called It's Arbor Day Charlie Brown. And again, that was based on, Chuck Schultz, Schultz, being the creator of Peanuts, of Charlie Brown and the gang, being talked into thinking that, global cooling was a real thing and we needed trees in order to stop it. And then we started getting the Earth days, and they kept talking about how it was going to be a new ice age, a man-made induced ice age, because back then, folks, the glaciers were, like in Alaska and the northern climes all over the planet, the glaciers were growing. They were growing. Kids in school were being taught about global cooling. The Lorax, a half-hour, weeknight special like Charlie Brown, came on television. I think it was in 73 or 74 when it first aired. And it was all about man chopping down trees and utilizing the trees for man's own greed and burning the trees and putting pollution in the air from burning the trees and causing cold weather by blocking out the sun. And then the more we use to keep warm because we're blocking out the sun, the more blocking out of the sun we did until we enter an ice age. That's what they were trying to, in elementary and middle schools back then, that's what they were trying to instill and indoctrinate the children with. They were trying to scare us to death. Our parents were going to kill us by putting us into an ice age. We were going to all freeze to death. That is what they were telling us. And people did not believe me. And I'm like, all you got to do is go to YouTube and look up Dr. Seuss, The Lorax. You will be able to find, I think the last time I looked, and it's been a while, it was chopped up, and I think into 7 or 8 segments. But you could find the whole special on YouTube. Dr. Seuss, The Lorax. Not the movie with Jim Carrey, but the 30-minute special that aired back in the 70s. Now, they stopped showing that on as a special during weeknights during the year. It was every year. I mean, because they used to always play. I think the Lorax came on, and I watched it. I did, but I watched it because I also wanted to see Ricky Tikki Tavi. Every year, I watch Ricky Tikki Tavi. That was a lot of fun. I'm not sure if that is. I've never looked it up if Ricky Tikki Tavi is on YouTube. But Ricky Tikki Tavi is a mongoose for those of you who don't know. And he fought King Cobras. And no, I just had the thought of one of the Cobras. And it's kind of related to Iran, by the way, but we won't go there at the moment. But you can go there to YouTube and you can pick it up, and they showed it every year during the 70s until the point they decided, well, you know what, Earth has stopped cooling down, and we have some new information for y'all. It's now called global warming. Because now we're going to heat up the planet. We thought we were cooling it off by blocking out the sun, but we realized that that's not the case because Venus, somebody said, hey, look at Venus. Venus is covered in like this thick, heavy cloud, and it's hotter than hell over there. And over there on Mars, there are no clouds, and it's colder than hell over there. So maybe, if we have a lot of clouds here, it ain't gonna cool off. The sun's warmth and rays are gonna break through those clouds and get trapped. We're gonna heat up. And so then it was changed to global warming. And throughout the 80s and 90s, all you heard about was global warming, man-made global warming. Oh, we're going to burn up. The Earth's temperature is going to rise to such a, all the Earth's deserts are going to expand exponentially. All our crops are going to burn up due to severe droughts. That's all we heard on the news. Every time there was a drought, is this part of global warming? Yes, scientists tell us that it is part of global warming, and it is a dire warning that we need to heed. The newscast was talking all about this stuff all the time. Global warming, global warming, global warming. And Earth Day, every time Earth Day came around, it was like a big spectacle. You had all the so-called stars out there, all the actors and actresses and musicians and artists, and all the good-looking and fancy and famous people, and not so good-looking but famous people, all came out of the woodwork on the left in celebration of Earth Day. Now, the funny thing is that all these people are flying all over the place talking about global warming, and by flying in their little private jets, kind of like Al Gore, they were kind of contributing to the problem that they say mankind was creating. I know. That was all hypocritical. I know. It still is. It's still, they're still flying around talking about global warming. They're still driving around in their limousines and their big SUVs talking about global warming. And, now it's not global warming. See, sometime around 2000-ish, late 90s, early 2000s, they realized, now you have to understand, for the last 18 years or so, since 1997, 1998, there has been no warming on this planet. None, zilch, zip, nada. And I got some information about those warming numbers in the first place, and we'll get to that in just a second. But there has been no warming. There has been no scientifically measured warming on this planet anywhere over the last 18 years. So basically, since about 97, 98, there has been no warming. So around that time, around the year 2000, somewhere around there, give or take a year or two, they, on the left, in the environmentalist wacko group, they got wind of the science. So, planet's not really warming up now. So there goes your whole theory about global warming. And in order to keep their whole mantra alive, they had to change it again. So now it became man-made global climate change. So they got smart, so they thought. So now if we had a bad hurricane season, it was man's fault. If we had a poor or light hurricane season, that was man's fault. If it was too cold, that was man's fault. If it was too warm during the winter, man's fault. If we got too much snow, man's fault. We didn't get enough snow, man's fault. Too much rain, man's fault. Drought, man's fault. Anything that happened in the weather that seemed to go away from the so-called norm, it was due to man-made global climate change. And they thought they had it in the bag until we got the emails that were discovered from East Anglia College, University in England, that pretty much showed that it was all a bunch of BS and hoax. It was lies. It was misinformation, data that was purposefully incorrectly entered into models in order to get the results that they wanted. They weren't looking for the truth. They were just looking to back up what they thought or what they wanted to be the truth. They weren't looking for the truth. It's like saying, we're out here trying to prove that if you go 65 miles an hour, you'll actually arrive at your destination later than if you were to drive 55 miles per hour. So in order to prove that theory, instead of asking the question, do you arrive faster at your destination driving 55 miles per hour or 65 miles per hour? No, their question is 65 miles per hour is actually slower than 55 miles per hour. And we'll prove it. So then they go out there and they commence to fudge the data to make it look like it's scientifically proven that 65 miles per hour is actually and really slower than 55 miles per hour. It's the same thing that they did with global warming, folks. They went out there because their premise was there is man-made global change, climate change happening, and it's our fault. And we're going to go out there and prove it. Instead of asking the scientific question, here's the hypothesis, is there climate change happening? And what is the real cause? No. Their premise was, their thesis was that this is man-made. Any climate change that's happening is man-made. So it's man-made climate change. So now we need to prove it. And thus they went out there and they fudged numbers. They entered incorrect data. They adjusted numbers from going way back. So it looked like, things weren't as warm as they were back then, but they were actually cooler. So it appears that the numbers today are warmer than they were, back in the 30s and 40s. So they were doing all this kind of stuff. And those emails, not just there, but at other institutes of higher learning, even here in the United States, had their emails cracked. And that kind of stuff was being revealed all over the place. But yet we're still told that there's global warming or man-made climate change, and there needs to be something done now. I mean, even Al Gore came out with the inconvenient truth, which is nothing more than a convenient lie for him. And he got really rich off of that stuff, too, by the way. For those of you who don't like the one percenters, Al Gore became a one percenter because of trying to scare people in global warming. That's the truth. People, no, Al Gore didn't get rich out. Yeah, he got rich off of carbon. He founded the stupid carbon trading, like NASDAQ. He founded the carbon trading board. Or trading board. And then he folded it because he couldn't sell it to anybody. But not before he made millions of dollars off of it. That's also a fact. Something that liberals do not like. So, but now we're dealing with another Earth Day, and you have President Obama running around talking about, it's global climate change. You got to do something about it. So Obama honors Earth Day by using over 9,000 gallons of jet fuel, and that's just the start. Because he had to go down to Florida and a few other places. Now, President Obama is celebrating Earth Day by flying his jumbo jet down to Florida so he can tour the Everglades. Now, the 1,836-mile round trip will consume over 9,000 gallons of fuel on Air Force One, according to CBS White House reporter Mark Knoller. CBS here, not Fox. Hey, liberals, Fox didn't report this. CBS did. And that's just the president's plane. There'll be a half dozen support planes along for the trip. Marine One helicopters and a 25 to 30 vehicle motorcade. Just to go and talk about man-made global climate change. And that we need to do something about it. And here the president is running around with his entourage of vehicles and planes spewing more carbon, enlarging his carbon footprint to being one of the biggest on the planet. And he's going to lecture us about global warming. I mean, folks, you can't make this stuff. This is hilarious. You can't make this stuff up. You really can't. I wish 25 to 30 vehicles in his motorcade. Now, those aren't electric vehicles, by the way. Well, I got some news on electric vehicles, too. But those are not electric vehicles that he's using, by the way. Those are gas. Not even diesel, but gas. And of course, he's got all the other planes, support planes and helicopters and everything that have got to be flying around. I tell you, this guy is nothing more than a walking symbol of hypocrisy. If they weren't so damn dangerous, it would be funny. It really would.